The YRRCan Observation Council prided itself on cataloging the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. To them, technological reliance was the measure of worth. Every species they had met leaned heavily on machines, life support, automated medicine, nutritional dispensers. Without them, they crumbled within days. When they reached the small blue planet called Earth, they had already dismissed it as primitive. The humans had technology, yes, but much of it was crude compared to galactic standards. What drew the Council's true interest was not human advancement but human adaptability. To test it, they devised what they believed was a fair experiment. They abducted one human. His name was Lieutenant Daniel Rourke, a search and rescue officer from the coastal city of Halifax. He woke to find himself on an alien vessel, stripped of his uniform, stripped of his equipment, and deposited into a barren test chamber no larger than a warehouse floor. No technology, no food supplies, no artificial comforts, just walls, rock, and the gaze of hundreds of alien scientists behind armored glass. The YRRCan had run this test on 27 species before. None lasted longer than 4 days without technological aid. Most collapsed into panic within 2. They expected the same from the human. First, Daniel did panic. He paced, fists clenching, muttering curses at the ceiling. He knew he had been taken, though not by whom. His training screamed at him. Survive, assess, adapt. The chamber was harsh. The temperature fluctuated. The ground was dry, but condensation gathered on the walls when the lights dimmed. He scraped moisture into his hands and drank. He broke stones to make sharp edges and cut strips of his clothing into cords. By the second day, he had constructed a crude water catch from fibers of his shirt tied across a stone hollow. By the fourth, he had figured out a rhythm of rest and exercise to keep his body stable despite the starvation. He walked laps, stretched, muttered songs under his breath, and whispered names of his family to keep his mind intact. On the 7th day, he stopped waiting for rescue. He started preparing to live. From the observation gallery, the YRRCan were baffled. Subject persists. One hissed. No nutrient feeds. No external stimulation. It should have entered neural collapse by now. Instead, Daniel carved patterns on the stone with a sharpened shard. He sang to himself in low tones. Sometimes he laughed. Sometimes he screamed. But always he returned to routine. The YRRCan noted with discomfort, resilience bordering on defiance. Weeks passed. Daniel lost weight. His body grew gaunt, but he found ways to endure. He chewed fibers from his clothing not for nutrition, but to keep his jaws working. He drank every droplet he could harvest from condensation. He even learned the rhythm of the artificial lights, pacing his rest as if he could bend time into something human. He whispered to himself, "They want me to break. I won't give them that." On day 22, the YRRCan Council convened. "This is not biological survival," one elder argued. "This is willpower." Another shivered. "Machines make life easier. Remove them and any species falls. That is universal. And yet this human refuses universality." When the council finally ended the trial, Daniel had survived 31 days without technology. They released him back onto Earth, body frail but mind unbroken. Before he vanished into the forests near his abduction point, he turned toward the retreating vessel and raised his middle finger skyward. The gesture was crude, but the aliens logged it in their database. They later learned it was a human symbol of defiance. The council returned to their archives shaken. In their data they wrote, "Humanity is anomalous. They are not bound by technology. They are not defined by machinery. If stripped of tools, they become the tool. If stripped of comfort, they create it. If stripped of everything, they endure." The YRRCan had measured civilizations by their inventions. That day, they learned to fear one defined by its refusal to surrender. Across the galaxy, when whispers of humans spread, one story rose above all others. The day an alien empire learned what it meant to endure without technology. Because that was the day they understood. Machines could be broken, dismantled, erased. but a human's will could not. And willpower, they realized, was the most dangerous weapon in the universe.